Democrats are in absolute panic over the invasion at the border. And I can confidently call it an invasion because, well, for one reason, obviously, 10,000 plus people coming through every day or more, you could consider an invasion. But now we have Al Sharpton calling the border crisis an invasion. And he's calling on GOP senators to be pressured for allowing this to continue. Now, hold down there, gosh darn minute. How are Republican senators allowing this to continue? Well, my friends, the narrative shift is incredible. I don't remember who tweeted this out, so forgive me for not properly attributing it to you. But they said it was a video of CNN talking about Donald Trump being the front runner, how in all the polls, Trump is ahead, and Trump is even ahead with the youth vote right now. And they said, imagine calling Donald Trump a fascist, racist, white supremacist for 10 years, only for the end result to be the majority of this country wanting to vote for him. And what does that really mean? It means the corporate press has no power anymore. So how are we in this moment where for years, corporate press and Democrats have said, there's no invasion at the border. It's not an invasion. There's not even a border crisis. Y'all are crazy. And now Al Sharpton is on MSNBC saying it's an invasion and it's Republicans' fault. Oh boy. The shift was so dramatic and so rapid. It shows the corporate press narrative falls on deaf ears. So perhaps it is the master workings of these Republican governors in places like Florida, Ron DeSantis, and Texas, Abbott, sending illegal immigrants up to liberal jurisdictions, cities for the most part, and getting them very angry about it. You look at these videos of the immigration crisis in New York and Chicago and Boston, and people are none too happy. But I don't think it's the work of the governors. I got to be completely honest. Under the Biden administration, we have seen, a tripling of illegal border crossings? It is an outright invasion. Whether or not these Republicans were going to send illegal immigrants to any part of the country, it was happening either way. And so in the end, all they did was help facilitate what the Democrats were doing. Now, of course, the speculation is that Democrats are trying to engage in a radical demographic shift. That's what they've publicly talked about. Van Jones, for instance, is quoted as talking about wanting white Americans to give up being a majority. Fundamental shift in the demographics of this country through illegal immigration in violation of our laws. But it's caused such strife outside of just white neighborhoods. You've got a viral video in Boston of a black man yelling at cops that his community center has been taken over by criminal aliens who are given free money and community resources. Now, Joe Biden and the Democrats risk losing tremendous amounts of political power because of the crisis they caused. So, of course, the narrative shift was obvious. We saw this coming. Now what's happening is you've got Democrats like Al Sharpton saying it is an invasion. Joe Biden comes out and says, I want to solve this crisis, but I need a new law. And the plan was obvious. And here it is. We knew it was coming. Everybody knew this was coming. Joe Biden would say there's a crisis. Republicans need to help. They then put out a bill, which is an amnesty bill. Oh, boy, wait till you see what's in it. One of the provisions in this amnesty bill, they're calling it a security bill, but in no way does it provide any security. It actually opens the border permanently. There's a provision saying any adjudication, judicial review, must be in D.C. There's actually a provision that says unaccompanied minors from non-contiguous countries don't count towards the total amount of migrants allotted per day, which could be upwards of 8,500 permitted, and it would grant, in certain circumstances, non-judicial review of asylum claims, meaning federal agents could just rubber stamp asylum, give cash and work permits to criminal aliens. This is not a security bill. The bill funds war in Ukraine more than, I believe, the annual budget for the Marine Corps. I could be wrong. I saw a tweet on that one. I could be wrong. Provides funding to Israel. And the Democrats, they really don't want a single issue bill on Israel funding because they are losing tremendous support from progressives. But this is it. Let me walk you through it, my friends. Al Sharpton calls the border crisis an invasion. It's absolutely remarkable what he is saying here, considering Not even that long ago, the narrative was, there is no invasion. Are you crazy?
What is being done to get the public to really rise up in various states to say to their senators?
Let me pause real quick. The Chiron, lower third for MSNBC, says House GOP vows to kill Senate border bill as aid for Ukraine hangs in the balance.
That they want to see the borders, the border issue resolved. I mean, you're getting migrants beating up policemen in the streets in New York. You're seeing an influx of migrants all over the country that frankly have people outraged. And couldn't there be some kind of public pressure put in the next couple of days in some of these senator states saying, why are you allowing this to continue? Because at the end of the day, senators have to deal with their voters. And at the same time, in the bill, you give money to Gaza, to civilians in Gaza and Israel. But the border, I mean, we're looking every day at the invasion of migrants, and they're playing a time game with politics on this. Couldn't that pressure put to bear in their home states?
Amazing. And these people are evil. Let me play that again.
But the border, I mean, we're looking every day at the invasion of migrants, and they're playing a time game with politics on this.
Every day, an invasion at the border. Holy crap. Well, I can at least say it's good that now everyone's against it. At least Democrats have flipped on the issue. They're losing. It doesn't matter what the corporate press says over and over again. There's no invasion. There's no border crisis. You're crazy. And now they lose. Let me pull up some articles here. Here, I love this one. Biden and Democrats are their own worst enemies on border crisis. Whoa! Daily Beast? That's basically the CIA. Border crisis. They're just outright calling it a crisis. Well, I'm impressed. What else do we have? The GOP fears working with Biden more than it cares about fixing the border crisis. I just don't get it. I got to be honest. I don't get it. You can't for the longest time claim there is no border crisis and there is no invasion. And if you're racist if you say it's an invasion. And then once you realize nobody is listening to what you have to say, you flip on the issue. Well, I suppose the issue is there are a lot of Trump derangement default liberals who don't pay attention, starting to notice criminal aliens flooding their cities. So the Democrats have to direct their anger at Republicans. To be fair, Republicans are pretty garbage on the issue, too. State Republicans, perhaps a bit better, especially in Texas. Oh, here's Vox. Democrats are trying to pass a right-wing border bill, but the GOP won't let them. These people are evil, man. I just think they're evil. A right-wing border bill? Remarkable. You know, I got community noted the other day because I was talking about the Biden administration calling in the Alaskan National Guard to stand against Texas as I framed it. Perhaps I was a little too forceful in how I described it. And it weighed on me a little bit like, should I lighten the load on that one? And I'm just like, let me explain. Because I do think it's fair to try and address these things because I don't want to play the game they do. 20 members of the Alaskan National Guard are called a federal memo to assist federal agents and CBP on the border, which includes 4 states, which includes Texas. They will be providing resources, logistics, and aviation for CBP in 4 states, again, including Texas. Perhaps a bit hyperbolic for me to say standing against Texas. But my point was, at a time when the Texas National Guard has outright rejected CBP's policies and federal jurisdiction, calling in Alaskan National Guard for deployment, they prepare, is a huge mistake, misstep, bad messaging. And it is fair to point out the deployment could be in 2025. It could be earlier, but likely a year from now. My point is simply, as I made in all those videos, a grain of sand added to a heap, not a direct declaration of conflict or anything. But the last time they did this was 5 years ago. Now is not the time to make a declaration like this. So perhaps a little hyperbolic. But I look at the news like this and I'm like, it's not a right-wing border bill. It's a far left open border policy bill. And headlines like this are absolutely false. You know, I can respect that people will be critical of me for saying it's too hyperbolic and it's misrepresenting. And I'm like, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you're right on that one. I don't know what else to say. I feel like I'm right, but I accept maybe it was a little too much. Maybe I'm wrong. And I look at this and I'm like, this is just an outright lie. The bill is in no way a right-wing bill. It opposes everything that Republicans have been calling for on the border. We're not perfect, so I'd apologize and say, man, I don't know. I mean, maybe some of the critics are right on that one. What else can I say? In this instance, though, are you kidding me? Oh, here you go. Newsweek. Robert Reich, y'all know him, y'all love him. Reich, I don't know how to pronounce his name. No, there's no border crisis. Republicans are perpetuating another big lie. It's from 3 years ago. Just about. Forbes. There is no border crisis from 2019. There has been for some time. Now, back in 2019 under Donald Trump, he was working to do something about it. I love this one. Tufts University. Oh, we love our liberal universities. This one's from only a few months ago. Stop calling it a border crisis. The narrative that the U.S. is in the midst of a border crisis only empowers the media and politicians to peddle nonsensical and barbaric policies. Yeah, here's Forbes from 2018. There is no crisis at the border, and DHS stats prove it. I kept saying it over and over and over again. Well, where are we now? The narrative has shifted. And with this bill, Democrats are claiming that Republicans are opposed to their own right-wing bill. Take a look at this. McConnell cautioned Senate Republicans against bipartisan border bill from SCNR.com. The Senate must carefully consider the opportunity in front of us and prepare us to act. Well, of course, by now you've probably heard a lot of the issues in the bill, with the bill, as to why Republicans are now saying, no, don't support it. Because the bill would rip this country apart instantly. Democrats are trying to do that, but only want to win the narrative. And that's the game. Now that they're acknowledging an invasion and a border crisis, they want to codify the crisis at the border while pretending they're solving it. It's evil. The Republicans are bumbling dotards who are assisting Democrats in their ridiculous plan, but at least there are some Republicans calling this out in the House. Actually stand against the garbage that Biden's administration and Senate Democrats are pushing forward. But they're lying to us, the Democrats, the whole way, to convince Republicans and the voters that it's Republicans who oppose fixing the border. It's nightmarish. It really is. And, people have asked, like, how do you deal with the Trump derangement syndrome people? I'm like, I know it's tough because I had my story from this past weekend. I told you yesterday. The guy I met in D.C. who would not listen to any reason, doesn't read the news, doesn't know, doesn't care. Just everything Republicans do is wrong and evil no matter what, and he won't listen. Okay, let me try it again for you. I just showed you all the articles. It's remarkable. Please share this video. I don't know if they're willing to watch a video like this, but I please share it because maybe they will. Maybe they'll have a Brandon Strzok moment. He talked about how he finally decided, I'm going to watch one of these videos attempting to debunk the Trump narrative. And then he realized, wow, that was true. And he said it caused physical pain for him to see the media had lied to him. Democrats and the corporate press have for years said it is not a border crisis. But now that y'all are angry about the massive influx of criminal aliens, they are now turning around and blaming Republicans for it. Not that Republicans are good. I think the Republican Party is garbage. But Joe Biden and the Democrats have denied it and advocated for it in some circumstances, now pretending like it's actually Republicans who are opposing fixing the border. And that's what they said. They're saying on MSNBC and these other platforms that, Donald Trump, the reason the Republicans are trying to stop this border bill is because they want chaos. Yeah, they want to blame Joe Biden for it. Well, it is Joe Biden's fault for what's going on. DeSantis refers to bipartisan Senate border bill as a farce. It just shows me the contempt that these people in D.C. have for the American taxpayer. Well, let me show you right here. Here's the bill. I'll scroll down to page 150 for something that's absolutely remarkable. Judicial review. This was noticed by Josh Smith. He brought it up to us yesterday on Timcast IRL. Check this out. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this act, judicial review of any decision or action in this section shall be governed only by the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, D.C., which shall have sole and original jurisdiction to hear challenges, whether constitutional or otherwise. Wait. Whether constitutional or otherwise? That was funny because when I read that, Ian, crossing on IRL, he'd be like, what? Whether constitutional or otherwise? So they're saying they may do unconstitutional things? Yeah. And if you have a complaint about it, it has to go to D.C. To the validity of this section or any written policy directive, written policy guideline, blah, 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 you get the point. What does this really mean? Well, this goes along with what I was saying about Alaska having a potential deployment for logistics and support to CBP, who are currently in opposition to the Texas National Guard. It will happen potentially in the Trump administration. This judicial review basically means that if Trump gets elected and says we have to stop the border crisis and tries, they will push it to D.C. court where he will lose. I want every Democrat concerned about illegal immigration to understand this. All of my friends' parents who are like, I don't know what's going on with this illegal immigration thing is getting crazy. If Trump does get elected, whether you like him or not, if you are concerned about what's going on the border, Michael Rappaport, for instance, guy doesn't like Trump at all, but he's concerned about this. If Trump gets elected and this bill passes, he won't be able to do anything to stop it. Trump will say, executive order, we're putting a stop to this. No, you're not. We got a bipartisan border bill that says we can do these things. And if you got a problem, it will be heard in court in D.C., where the D.C. bureaucracy is going to bang the gavel and say Trump loses. We shall continue. Now, you may be saying, okay, that's litigation. So I don't know. Let's try this. I think this one's on page 2. Do I have I don't know if I have this is going to be tough to find. It's not 237. Maybe I can do what was it? What page what was it? Can you search for terms in this one? Contiguous. That's the word we're looking for. And let's see, including aliens around report. What page was it? Okay, let me just break it down for you. There is a certain provision in this that says that, here we go, we found it. It was 213, sorry. It says limitations. Aliens described in subsection A2C from non-contiguous countries shall not be included in calculating the sum of aliens encountered. Let me slow down. I seriously do hope Democrats listen to this. Let's say you're not familiar with politics all that much. You're a Democrat. You don't really watch the news too much. I hope you hear this. And I hope you look at this bill yourself and read through it to understand what's really going on. This provision pertains to unaccompanied minors. That is, a 17-year-old who crosses the border. The bill basically says that there is a limitation that after 5,000 criminal aliens are encountered on the border, then they may trigger some authority to divert them to ports of entry. At 8,500, they must divert them to ports of entry. Do you understand what that means? The bill is basically saying they will allow what Al Sharpton calls an invasion to continue up to the point of 8,500. Hold on there a moment. That number does not include unaccompanied minors. Now, the Democratic politicians may try to play the game where they say, but they're talking about 12-year-olds. No, the 12-year-olds aren't unaccompanied. Many of them are with adults. Some of them are with human smugglers. Unaccompanied minors typically refers to 16 and 17-year-olds who are crossing the border. Now, they may be younger, 14, 15, but the smaller children are with human smugglers or their families. I'm not saying every single one of them is with a human smuggler. I'm saying that does occur, and we're trying to figure out how to deal with that. When Donald Trump wanted to deal with this and said we need to make sure these are not human smugglers and traffickers kidnapping children, the media ran wild saying Trump was separating parents from their children. How do you know they're actually their parents? We know that there is a disturbing amount of rape occurring with these human smugglers and young girls. So what are you supposed to do? If the Trump administration said, you know what, fine, so be it. We're going to leave them with the smugglers. Then the media would come out and claim Trump doesn't care that children are being raped. There's no win. In this instance, it's important to understand that throughout the migrant crisis, the criminal alien invasion, we have seen large numbers around the world of adult men claiming to be minors. Let me show you this one. The Daily Mail reports 2 out of 3 people seeking refuge in the UK claimed to be under 18, but lied about their true age. We have this from the Telegraph. Over 50 illegal immigrants aged 30 and above registered as children on UK arrival. This is from 2022, and the other story is from 2021. This is true for the United States as well. There have been many instances where someone, even 30 years old, will say they're 17. Prove it. And so what happens? CBP agents just say, given age, 17. That's an unaccompanied minor. They are saying they won't count them towards the calculations. Okay. So they're going to allow 3+ million criminal aliens to invade, Al Sharpton's words, Al Sharpton, invade the southern border. 3+ million before this bill has any action taken. 3 million. I mean, that's record breaking. I think the number for Trump at the end of his year was 500,000, which is still bad. And this is supposed to be a right-wing bill? That's what Vox is saying? Under Donald Trump. I want to make sure I get this right. I think it's important. Let me say 500,000 Trump last year. Let me see if I can find that number. It's talking about 500,000 fines. Okay. U.S. is welcome to more than 500,000 migrants as part of a historic expansion of legal immigration under Biden. That's from 2023. Wow. So it's not just the millions. I can't find the number. Fact check me on that one. I could be wrong, and I'll accept that. I can tell you this. Donald Trump, you know what I can pull up? Illegal immigration by year. I'll pull that one up, and we'll take a look at what we can see. Because what I'm trying to do is, let's see. Trying to find a comparison between Trump and Biden. Let's do this by president term. I really want to make sure I can pull this one up. It's hard to find the right the graph showing the metric of how many illegal immigrants were encountered in one year versus the next year on the fly like this. I can't really find it. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. Fact check me on that one. I'll concede that because I don't have it pulled up, and that's my fault. You see, whenever I try to talk about facts and stats, I'll have them pulled up. But considering I wanted to pull that one up on the fly, don't have it. But let me say this. It's a fact. Donald Trump screamed up about building a big, beautiful border wall 30 feet tall from sea to shining sea. And they made fun of him for it, saying he couldn't get it done. Democrats didn't want to provide funding for the border bill, but they're providing funding for what's going on in Ukraine. How are you going to tell me that it's a right-wing bill to allow 3+ million illegal immigrants into the United States every year? And let me just make sure I can pull this up, because I know I'm asking a lot of people who don't normally research this news. I'm asking you to believe me. Here we go. Here's what it says. Mandatory activation. The secretary shall activate the Border Emergency Authority if, during a period of 7 consecutive calendar days, there is an average of 5,000 or more aliens who are encountered each day, or on any one calendar day, it's a combined 8,500 or more. Now, here's what you need to understand. I hope that's actually, I was slightly off on my assessment. That's a better way to understand it. There it is in full detail. Encountered. This means when we know 10,000 illegal immigrants crossed on a day, that's not an activation. They have to be encountered by CBP, which means if 1,000 of them run through the border and escape, doesn't count. They're called gotaways. Don't know. Can't count them. This bill is ridiculous. And more importantly, it provides funding for things unrelated to security. It's absolutely insane. Let me read this. On any one calendar day, combined total of 8,000 or 4. It says, for purposes of subparagraphs A and B, the average for the applicable 7-day period shall be calculated using the sum number of encounters occur between the southwest border, blah, 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 the number of encounters that occur between ports of entry, the number of inadmissible aliens encountered at the southwest land border, limitations. It says aliens described in subsection A2C from non-contiguous countries shall not be included in calculating the sum total of aliens encountered. Now, what happened for a lot of people is you read these provisions talking about 5,000, 8,500, and then you read that, and the assumption was it's talking about all of them. Subsection A2C was referencing unaccompanied minors, is my understanding. I could be wrong again. This is 370 pages. Just understand this. Now that you've heard all that, let's go back. Mitch McConnell is backtracking on this. Good. Democrats are now claiming an invasion is actually happening. That's incredible. And the media and the corporate press is blaming Republicans for obstructing to create chaos. I'm sorry. I can only say that these people, Al Sharpton, Joe Biden, they're evil. They lied to you. They claimed there was no problem. They facilitated the problem. And now that you're upset, and the Republicans in the Senate have basically betrayed their voters, but the House Republicans are saying no. The House Republicans are being blamed for facilitating what Joe Biden did. Man, it's just absolutely great. Man, I really want to pull up this graph that shows illegal immigration, but I can't find it. So maybe I'll pull it up for the next segment. Absolutely incredible to see what's happening, president by president. But I hope you get the point. It's a crisis for Democrats because it's going to affect their ability to win in November. At this point, though, I think that point made earlier, it's clear. They called Trump a fascist for a decade, a white supremacist, a racist. And now people are going to vote for him. Why? Because they're feeling the physical effects of Democrat policies. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.